We have Albert Moreno in the writer's chair today.
The only
Cue
episode.
our intro.
This is the funnest night ever!
Yeah, quit yanking our anuses. Two people get together, do something social, have a few drinks, yada yada yada.
It's called Two Brothers. Two Brothers. It's just called Two Brothers.
Okay, you don't have to like actually mimic the song. Edgar.
All right. So we're here today because Albert the Morenos is going to release a book pretty soon. By the time this episode of the podcast comes out, it'll be released first on ebooks. Is that what you call it? Digital?
Just say Amazon.
Yeah, Amazon.
Amazon Kindle.
Kindle, whatever. On Christmas Day.
Mm-hmm.
This is his second book. His first one was This Is Love. We'll get to that when we long the episode.
Okay.
The second book is called Closers, and we're here to talk to Alberto Moreno. So, thank you for coming today.
We live together. I don't
Shut
know,
up. So, talk about your latest book and the process of it. Go.
Okay. This is weird, seeing that you're like introducing me and stuff, but
This is a different episode today.
different format.
Yeah.
But just still weird. But so this new book that I spent almost, probably say like 2 years.
Jesus.
Yeah, I started writing in 2020,
Mm.
or even before that actually. And it's called Closers. And before I tell you about the process, I guess I should tell you about what the book is about. Okay, we're good. Sorry. The book. Okay, well let me take it back a little bit. It was originally a screenplay.
Yes, I know that.
Well, yeah, you know that, but people listening don't. And the screenplay was about kind of a little bit similar, I guess. Not really, because the screenplay was just about the two retail workers. And it was just detailing a day while they were working during a blizzard. I believe that was what the whole screenplay was, actually.
Don't they get robbed during the blizzard?
They get robbed, yeah.
But it was a female and
It was a female and a male.
yeah.
I don't remember their names. Yeah, it was a screenplay. It
during
was called
Christmas
Closers.
too, I think.
Yeah. And yeah, I only ever wrote the one draft of that screenplay, and then I kind of threw it away. And
Do you remember how long it was?
I think it must have been about 110 pages or so.
So pretty.
Probably, it was like around there.
So a short little story. Okay.
Yeah, and it was very self-contained.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have no elements of what this book has. Anyways, point is, after that and after This Is Love, I wrote what I think you remember. It was going to be called. I forget what the title was. It was a long title, but it had the word macabre in it. If you remember that, I think it was Shot in the Dark. It was called.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that was what originally the second book was going to be about, and it had some.
Had to do something with vampires.
It had something to
and
do with vampires, but it also had something to do with family. And Hollywood was involved somehow. Like, yeah, and
Why
the
did
title
you-
was really cool. I like the title.
It was long.
The title. Yeah, but you helped me come up with that too.
Yeah.
But yeah, I want to go ahead.
I just want to say why. Why you had the idea for that one, Shot in the Dark.
Why did I have like where
Why?
did it come from?
Well, yeah. Why why did you have that as your second book? Then I remember you were working on it for a tiny bit.
Mm-hmm.
Then you just stopped completely. Why?
It just wasn't going anywhere, and I wasn't really vibing with the story.
Me neither.
And I don't think you even read it.
But you told me about it.
Yeah, so I wrote it. I think I wrote maybe honestly 5 or 10 pages.
And that was
And
it.
that was it. Just because I just wasn't feeling it. It didn't feel...
So how the fuck do you know if you weren't feeling it? You only wrote a fucking...
because
5
it was
pages.
about vampires and I couldn't... How was I going to,
Well, so why the hell did you incorporate...
I wanted to see if I could do it.
Oh,
I wanted to see if that was something that I could attempt to do. And it's a good idea on paper, but it ultimately didn't pan out.
Okay, yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
Thank God. This is what? Sorry?
No, actually, before even Shot in the Dark, the second book was going to be called Welcome to Your Life. And,
I think I remember that too.
And that also didn't go anywhere. But we're not going to talk about that.
Okay.
But anyways, there was a few ideas there.
Yeah, I remember you writing this. You said you wanted to be your second book.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was saying earlier, thank God it wasn't. Because
Yeah.
I felt it too, that it wasn't going anywhere.
Yeah.
It was a pretty lame fucking story.
Mm-hmm.
So thank God you didn't lean towards that.
I think you told me that because there was elements of This Is Love in it, where it was romance again, and you were telling me why is this the romance again? Do something different. Don't do the fucking romance shit.
Mm-hmm.
And that made me depressed. And so, for those who don't know, Edgar is he frustrates me, but also motivates me at the same time, because whenever he shoots down my ideas, I get really I get pissed off. But I feel like that's a thing with writers and filmmakers. I think Guillermo del Toro said too, is you have to have thick skin. You get rejected so many times, and but you have to take it. And the biggest person, or the one person who's always rejected my ideas has always been you. And so when you rejected that idea for Welcome to Your Life, that was fucking Enter. How does he not? Enter doesn't understand the fucking book. That's what it is. He doesn't understand this, and I start getting very. But then that's how ideas like Closers come about, and then I end up coming up with something better.
Which I feel like it's more genuine. That's a word. Hello. And it comes from the heart. This book, I feel that, and that's why I didn't say anything else, because I knew you. Once you told me the plot for this book, I'm okay. Albert knows what he's gonna do. I can't. I'm not gonna interfere so much in the story.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Let's see. What else? Let's see.
Well.
Oh, go ahead.
So yeah. Anyways, so that all happened. I had a few ideas there, and then ultimately towards the end of 2019, I came up with the idea for Closers, and it's weird because This Is Love was also a screenplay first before it was a book.
We'll get there. Yeah.
And so I looked back through some of the screenplays I've written, and I liked the name Closers, and I thought, well, most of books that I've read have always been a lot of just people talking, and originally that's what it was gonna be, was just two best friends who work at retail and sort of what their day to day is.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I can do that. That's pretty. I'm not saying it's simple, but it's I know that when I write screenplays, I feel like my strength is dialogue. So I was like, I can do that for this book, and so I did Closers, and then I was like, it'd be kind of cool. I was designing the covers for the book, I think, because when I wrote This Is Love, or when I started writing This Is Love, I reached out to my good friend Alan, who will get into his involvement with Closers, but I reached out to him to do the cover for the book. And to this day, I love what he drew for This Is Love, for the cover.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And that sparked my motivation to write the whole book.
Which one?
This Is Love.
Okay.
And then when I finally saw the final cover art, I was like, this is fucking awesome. This is great. This is, And so with Closers, I took a hand at designing the cover for the book to motivate me. And that's how I came up with the whole lowercase c and then uppercase L. So it's called Closers, but it also says Losers.
Yeah.
So I was like, yeah, that's like, Howard, that was a good idea.
No, it is.
and then I started writing the book. So.
All right. And so I think this is Two Brothers.
This is not the end.
Okay, let's talk about how first, like you were saying, Closers was a screenplay, a movie. Why, out of all the other ones that you wrote,
Screenplays?
yes, you picked Closers, and kind of, it still has the same, like, as the two people working at a retail,
Yeah.
but that's it. It's not during a blizzard. They're not being robbed and so on
Yeah.
and so forth
Uh-huh.
with the original idea. Why did you choose that?
That's kind of like the backdrop, or what do you?
Yeah, like to make it into a book. Why did Closers spoke to you?
Well, now this is where we get into Alan,
Oh, okay.
my best friend.
Which you don't see a lot.
Well, yeah, we haven't seen each other in a long time, but we do play online.
Yeah.
But anyways, we'll edit that out. Anyways, yeah. So with Closers, I chose that as the backdrop because when I was working at Big Five, I think it was like 2017 through like 2018, like that whole year was like, I would call it like one of my best years, weirdly enough. And it was working at this fucking retail store, of all places, is where I was the most happiest. And it was because of people like Alan. There was a lot of people who worked there that I connected with, I still have contact with, but Alan was just like, he was like very, weirdly enough, him and we connected on a lot of the same things, video games and comic books. And I say weirdly enough because the way our friendship started was unlike what you would think a friendship would start as. We didn't talk for like a good 4 months, I think, maybe. Probably less, but while I was working there. And all it took was him asking me if I found Margot Robbie hot.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, yeah, she's Harley Quinn. And like, we started talking about it kind of devolved into this conversation about video games and Metal Gear and all this shit. And I was like, this guy is fucking, he's like me,
Mm-hmm.
and that's really rare to find in this world. And so I was like, so when I wrote Closers, I was like, that's what I wanted to write, was my experience. Well, half of it was my experience working at Big Five.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why I chose that, because it was just, that's what stuck out to me in my head when I think about my favorite like moments so far in my life has been with Alan working at Big Five. So.
Okay, that's not the majority.
Well, that's one element. Yeah.
One element of the book is it's based on a true story.
Yeah.
But what made you bring in, like, let's call it family issues into the book?
Well, I wouldn't.
Or how would you
quite
describe it?
Describe it as like family issues, but it's more like just growing up in a Hispanic household. Anyone who can relate to that knows that it's very different, and there's a lot of expectations that are put on you, and kind of just the people that you grow up with, and what you end up kind of learning from them, and the stuff that you try to what's the word, like you try to live up to what they expect of you, and I thought that was just very interesting. And it I did not get too real here, but like, it's the kind of shit I talk to my therapist about, and so, but as a writer, I felt like it'd be great to put that into the book, sort of my experiences with my, what are you doing? Sounds like you're like hearing something. You have a spider in your ear? What's going on?
Spider, can I go?
but yeah, and I decided to kind of infuse that into the book as well. You know, have we talked about this? I haven't even told. I haven't explained what the story's about.
No, let's get to it then.
Hold on, I got a cough. This is not a great time.
So what the fuck are we recording then?
Sorry.
Jesus.
We'll cut that part out.
Oh my god.
Okay.
It's gonna be so much edits in this fucking.
That's all me though. I'm gonna be doing that, not you.
All right. So talk about the story.
Okay. Yes. So, Closers is about the main character Kenji Ito, who is living in Colorado with his uncle, and he's been going to school for a while now. And then, in this book, where we meet him in this book, he's essentially dropped out. He's not going to school anymore, and he has no ambitions. He has no dreams, nothing to speak of. All he really has is this job at an appliance store, working with his best friend Grant. And he's kind of content with his life, all things considered. And he's kind of chosen to keep him, having dropped out, away from his parents and his family, until something happens in the book that sort of forces him to confront change. The whole book is really about change and how scary that can be. And it's also about kind of redefining what it means to live, especially in your 20s. And it doesn't just happen to Kenji, but it happens to the other characters in the book, like his uncle, Rio, who is also a big part of the book, as well as his friend Grant, who I've taken loose inspiration from my best friend Alan. So,
does Alan know you dedicate this book?
Yes, I did tell him.
At
the time of this recording, I told him a month ago that he was going to be sharing the dedication page along with our uncle who has passed away for some time now. Our tío Cono, Nicolas, will be. I'm also dedicating the book to him as well. He was a huge inspiration for the uncle character in the book, as well as when I was going into the rewrite. That's who I had in mind when I was, thinking about Uncle Rio was our uncle. Not to also get too real, but he was such a, he's just a rare human being. He was, you can attest to that too. He was such a great person to be around with and everything. So I modeled Uncle Rio after him, and he was what really drove the story forward a lot. So yeah, but Alan does know.
Okay.
That it's being dedicated.
Why you didn't pick him to do the cover for this book?
I think I did approach him, and I just don't think. I think he was busy at the time, and he referred to me to one of his friends, and that ended up falling out. I never got into contact with her ever again, just because not in a bad way. It's just like she was also very busy, and then that's when I took it upon myself to try to do the cover, and that also, well, I think I like the covers that I did, but ultimately my friend Maurice told me to go on, dude, just go on Fiverr and hire someone to do it for you. I was like, that's a good idea. And that's what I did, and that's what the cover is. And that the guy who also designed the cover will be credited in the book as well.
Does he know?
He also knows.
Oh, okay.
So I told him that I want to give him credit, and I didn't know his name because he just has in Fiverr they have their own profile name.
Oh,
so
okay.
I had to get his name so I can put it in there because I want to give him credit because I think the cover looks fantastic.
No, I loved it.
Yeah.
I think I remember when you did that, you gave him some concept art for him, and he gave you multiple covers, right?
Yeah.
There was different covers.
Yeah, there was quite a few different covers, but
and this one that you put that's gonna be on the official cover, I liked, and I remember also that being a little wasn't worked on so much. I was hey, tell him to give him some oomph to
Mm-hmm.
the title, and he did. And whoever that guy's name is, I love that cover too. It sticks
Mhm.
out. It's
Yeah,
cool.
it looks like a comic book. Like he
Cover.
has the whole first issue on the.
Has the does it have
Yeah.
like the 25 cents on there?
I think it might. Yeah, it's weird. I always look at that cover, but actually I don't
Well,
know.
it's on your Facebook if you
Yeah.
guys are interested.
But yeah, it's like a part of selling the book is the
Mhm.
cover. So
Yeah.
I really like the cover. Also like This Is Love's cover. That was really
Yeah.
pretty good.
Um.
I think Alan was like, God damn, because I showed him what the guys at that publishing company. I showed him the cover. I was like, dude, look what they fucked. They like the glow up on this shit.
Uh-huh.
Like it looks fucking awesome. And Alan agreed. But also, Alan's cover was great too. So. Not to discredit.
Well, so let's talk the length of the book first. I know this is maybe your second, third draft of the book that you wrote.
Yeah, I'd say probably like the third draft.
So, third.
Yeah.
So, in your mind, how long did you thought this book was going to be long, Mr. George R.R. Martin?
I thought it was gonna be like maybe I don't know, like 300 pages. Honestly.
Jesus Christ! Okay.
Yeah, Jesus Christ is right because I think This Is Love is like 340 pages.
The fuck were you thinking?
At the time, I was going through some shit, dude, when I wrote that. But this one, I didn't have like an intention in mind, like how long I wanted it to
So
be.
you just went in like.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because for those who haven't read This Is Love, you can find it on Amazon and everything.
Support
Barnes
your
and
boy.
Nobles too, yeah. But the book is about, I think, 15 chapters, and they're 15 chapters because each chapter is a letter that ends up becoming what the name of the book is, which is This Is Love. I don't know if you remember that.
I know you told me.
Yeah, so I thought I was gonna go into closers doing the same thing. Not the same like each letter is gonna end up calling it closers, but it was gonna be 15 chapters. I think there's probably 16 chapters in this book.
But
Like
it's
one
under.
but it's under 200. So I won't
Pages.
give it the exact number. Well, I guess I could. It's about like 144 pages, I think. It's a pretty short book.
And it has 60 fucking chapters.
16.
That's what I just said.
Well, they said 60. I was like, damn, no. Yeah, it's 16 chapters. And the original draft was about 340 pages.
Well, I remember.
Yeah.
Okay.
Without giving too much away of the book, because I want people to read it, there was just a lot of shit that didn't need to be there. Even my girlfriend, Jessie, who read it, I think it was at the time when she was reading it, I was editing the book. And
When?
it was like a while ago.
When you mean editing, is this the second time or the third time?
The second time. It was the rewrite, and she was telling me like, why are you going into great detail what this character's doing? Like this character's like, it just takes me out of it because like I think I wrote a scene where the mom is like making a dish. And I'm explaining the origins of the dish. I'm explaining how the fucking dish is being made, and she was like, "I don't need to know that." And I was like, "You kind of got a good point."
What do you mean? I also gave you that pointer when I
Yeah,
was...
you told me that too. You told me like there's a lot of shit here that doesn't need to be here, and
Well, yeah, I remember when I gave you pointers. Well, I think I read at least half the book. I think I was in the 6th or 7th chapter of your original draft. And I remember it had so much exposition, like it didn't need to be there.
Mm-hmm.
I even told you that some chapters would be like great. It had a great flow to them. Then out of nowhere, you bring in fucking, like you were saying, like the dish, for example, like that doesn't need to be there. You know, you would go to some fucking lengths just to explain fucking what a character was doing.
Well, see that's the thing,
Yeah.
right? About being a novelist, as when you're writing a novel, you have to strike a balance of good description versus like dialogue.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want there to be little description, because then it's gonna come across as being too vague. But you also don't want too much, because then it's gonna be too fucking boring. So I had I think that was the most difficult thing about the book, was finding a good balance of like writing description, text, setting up the scene and everything, versus the dialogue, I think every writer who's worth their salt has read the fucking Stephen King book on writing. And I also read that during the closers and everything. And he talked about that too, about like striking a good balance between that. And that's when you were telling me like, oh, there's just too much, And to be honest with you, the reason why that's how it was because I was writing it like Quentin Tarantino would write it. I read the novelization of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, which I thought was fantastic. But then after I read it, I started writing like it was that book. And there was a lot of exposition in that book. You can clearly tell it's a thick fucking book. I mean, it's a short book, but still. And so I started doing it that way. And then that's when you're telling me, this is too much shit. And I was like, I gotta start taking some shit out.
And you got butthurt, I remember.
Okay. Okay, look. I did because because as a creator, like everything feels important to you. It's really hard to kill your baby sometimes. It's really hard to kind of like take some shit out. That's what they say. I heard Kevin Smith say it, like kill your babies, so people don't like freak out. That's just the fucking phrase.
Well, when it's not only with your book, it can be with any project that we're working on. It can be the next screenplay you're writing, or a current one, or the next book. Whatever you're doing that you're writing on. And when you tell me to read it, I'm not just going to read it as your brother. I'm going to read it as an editor. I'm going to read it as someone that doesn't know you. I put on that fucking hat on and think that way, And I think just think like that. Like if Albert was going to give this to
like an editor,
an editor or someone that
a judge
or whatever,
someone.
I gotta be that way too. I gotta be critical. I gotta be judgmental. I gotta give you the facts and stuff like that.
No, you're right. No, and I think that's what was really hard to kind of accept, was that a lot of the shit that I spent time writing sometimes isn't gonna make the final cut, and that's what you told me. But I will say this: look, anyone who's wanting to write or be a writer, not to take a slight on you or anyone who's read the book, but sometimes you have to also take that shit for a grain of salt. What people tell you. You have to believe in what you're writing, and that was hard for me too, because I had to believe in what I was writing too. I was like, does this shit need to be there, or do I keep it because I want to believe that it's going to be good for the book? Like, it's just, you have to kind of think about it that way sometimes. Go ahead.
And you said you've been writing this book for 2 years now, right?
Just about, yeah. On and off, I will say. There was a few times where I wrote screenplays instead.
Why did you take
so long?
Yeah, like George R. Martin. As in, like with Stephen King, he knocks out books like 5 times.
Do you think I'm fucking Stephen King?
Well, at this point, you fucking write screenplays and shit.
Yeah, but I have, the novels and screenplays are two different things.
Okay, true. But yeah, you've been like, since your last book, that This Is Love, came out. You've been saying, "I'm gonna write a second book," and since then, look.
Well, okay, look. When This Is Love came out, a lot of people were like, "When is your next book gonna come out? When are you gonna do your next book?" And I would always say like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna write a second book," but it's like I was conflicted. I didn't know if I wanted to write a second book. I wanted to focus on scripts, and I think I was gonna do a graphic novel actually. I wanted to do a graphic novel, but so that was why, people would ask me. I was like, yeah, I'm writing it or I'm doing it, but I wasn't. I just didn't know what the book was going to be about or if I wanted to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I got around to wanting to do it, it already been like 2 years since the first book came out.
Mm-hmm.
And then I started writing it in 2019, and then during the pandemic, I started writing it as well. And then I took breaks from it, and then I wrote screenplays, and I went back to the book. And then last year, and then this year, I spent the most time writing the book. That's been my fucking main thing that I've been focusing on. That's why I'm eager and nervous to put it out there, because this is probably the longest project I've worked on.
As like when you're writing the book, right? Now you're already done with it. You're in the final touches of releasing your book.
At the moment of the recording,
Yeah. Like, so that means you read your book 3 times, right? You read the long version, you read it again, and you read the shorter version of your book.
Dude, I think I read it more than that.
Oh, okay.
As I'm writing, sometimes I'll read it, like I'll pause and start from the beginning. Which I think people say you don't do that. Keep writing it, but I obviously didn't learn that until later. But yeah,
What I'm getting to is like for you, like when I read your shit, like your screenplays and your book, it's weird that it's coming from you.
What do you mean?
You use these fancy words in there and stuff like that. So like what I'm getting to is like when you read your book, do you think as yourself like as Alberto?
Like reading it?
Yeah, or you put your
Reader cap on?
Yeah. Well, how do you do that? Like with screenplays and all that, like do you go in like I said, like Albert, or you go in as a writer or someone else,
It's a bit of all of it, to be honest. It's that's why sometimes I take breaks from writing, is because I want to give it enough time away from it, so that when I do come back to it, I come back with it like a fresh set of eyes. That's what I did when I first finished the book, and I looked back and I read it again. I was like, this is okay. It's not great though, that's when I started to become a bit more critical. Now I'm reading it as the fucking writer. Like every time I'm reading it, even now, going through it and everything, like putting the final touches, like I can't help but just read it as the writer, hoping that people will like it, but ultimately, like I always said this to myself, but with Closers, it's a book that I would want to pick up. So as long as that's something that I feel, then I did my job. So when the book comes out, if I were anyone else but the writer, would I want to go into the bookstore and buy it, or see it in Kindle and buy it? And I would. This is why I wrote the book, was because I want to be able to read it. I heard Scott Snyder say that too, is that like write the book that you'd want to buy off the stands, and that's what I did with Closers, is I want to write the book that I want to read. So
nice.
Yeah, and hopefully people will also find it inspirational. Hopefully people will find it like
with this one, like with this is love, we'll get to it pretty soon here. But with Closers, I feel like you can relate to this book. You say? No, the people who wants to pick it up or read it. I feel like that's the big thing here in this book, is that you can relate to it. Working, retail, or working with a job that you don't like, finding yourself, change, stuff like that. You can relate to it. That's why I think. What I'm trying to say here. I enjoyed while I was reading, because you can relate to it. So
no, you're right. I think I just want people to like because I think all of us have been in a point where we felt afraid of change, and or have been aimless, like we don't have anything to kind of work, just wandering. I think all of us have been that at that point. And I would be lying if I said that I was writing it for people older than me. Like, this is obviously for our demographic, but hopefully it's something that everyone can read and enjoy. Like, obviously, like, we have Hispanic parents and the book is in English. I would have loved to have someone like translate the fucking book into Spanish. Hopefully that's something that we can do in the future, but I hope people can, like, at least pick it up and read it and find something to enjoy, That's why I also made the decision, because when the book is going to come out, it's going to retail at $10. So it's not even that much. When This Is Love came out, I think it's actually, like, right now in Kindle it's like $5, I think. And that's why I always, like, as nice as people are, and they're like, oh man, I'm going to buy your book physical, and like, that's awesome, but like, like that shit's $20. Go buy the Kindle version. Like, I'm doing, as a writer, I'm telling you to buy the fucking cheaper version. Because when I did This Is Love, that was the price point that the publishing company had put out. This is like $20 for each copy. And even as me, I was like, that's fucking expensive for a book from a first time author. But with this one, I was like, I'm gonna do it for $10. It's gonna be on the phones or iPads or your Kindles, so you can read it as easily as you can. I feel like that's the easiest way to read books nowadays, on your phone. I know people love the physical, and I plan to do that too in the future. Do like a print on demand option, so that people can, like, if they want to get the physical version. I think Alan even said that too. I was like, I'm gonna buy the Kindle one and they'll buy the physical one after. I was like, that's great, but first I want people to get it in their hands. So I made it as accessible as I can. $10 on Kindle. I think that's hopefully fair.
Okay. So we're getting close here to finish talking about closers.
Okay.
I want to talk about how the way you were promoting the book on your Facebook. Let's talk about that.
Okay.
Why did you make the decision to, like, make these, like, spoof or parody, like, posters, you want to call, or like whatever? Like,
right.
You want to get into it, because
there's some that, like, are spoofs on, like, fucking motivational things. The smart one that you saw. The one that looks like a fucking application ad that says now accepting applications, or the movie poster, fucking the horror one. I just thought it was cool. Like, that's a cool way to put it out there. When I did This Is Love, the marketing was pretty bare bones. On the publishing company, I was under the assumption that they would not handle the marketing, but that they would give me the tools to, or help with the marketing, and I was sorely misled. And all they did was like, here's a bookmark that you fucking put on Facebook. It was like, this is it. Like, yeah, you're gonna have a quote in a magazine no one's heard of or something. I was like, okay, great.
What was your quote? Do you remember?
I don't remember the quote.
I like books.
It was not me doing the fucking quote. It was like someone else. I can't remember it. But
how the fuck you remember that if it's your first book?
I don't know. Look, when I wrote This Is Love, and I finished it, it never registered me to be proud of the book, because it just never it didn't meet my expectations. For some reason, I thought I had this insane kind of, like, expectation that the book was gonna, like, take off because I was with the publishing company, but it didn't, and so I was, like, really bummed out. But this time I had tempered my expectations, and, like, I'm gonna do the fucking marketing, and that's where I started doing the posters and all this shit, and I'm gonna keep doing that, even after the book is out.
Should we tell the people, like, if they're interested? We just like to post it in our Two Brothers page, like, you should start doing that.
Yeah. No, I'm gonna look. Here's the thing. I hate being those people that are like, go fucking read my book, go do this. Like, but I'm gonna be annoying the shit out of people when this book comes out. Like I want to put it out there, so I'm gonna be doing the marketing by myself. Hopefully, people will help out, share and all that. But word of mouth, that sort of thing.
We should post it on our page. Our two brothers, just not because just to sell your book. That's it. Just like I like them. I really do. I like the last one you were saying. I even called. He's like, "What the fuck? I thought you
like found it
somewhere on the internet, but you made it up." I'm like, that's kind of cool. That's ingenious. You know.
No, I like that too, and I've been working on the marketing for the book so far, so hopefully people will be seeing more of it, and hopefully that will get people hyped up for the book as much as I am. If I were to leave people with like a last message before we finish the episode, it'd be this.
We're not even done yet.
Oh, we're not done?
No.
Oh, then keep talking. Go ahead. I thought you wanted to finish. I thought you wanted to be done. Go ahead.
We got to talk about the first book still.
Okay, sorry.
God.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, that's my train of thought.
No, you want to talk about the first book. Go ahead.
Well, hold on.
You're talking about marketing, and then you want to talk about the first book.
So, is it, by the time this comes out, is it official that it's coming out on Christmas 2022?
Yes.
On Amazon.
Yes.
And how people can find it? Just type in Closers, or
if you go to the Kindle app or your Amazon app, and by the time this episode's out, it'd be out eventually, hopefully. And then you just find it on there, and you just buy it, and there you go. And then you read it on your phone. Okay. Simple as that. You just type in Closers, and it should come up.
Are you gonna have a link to it on your?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. I'm gonna have it all covered so people don't be confused. Hopefully.
When is your next book?
Okay, that's the big question.
Yeah. Another 2 fucking years.
Okay. Why you have to be so harsh? You're like.
Because you're George R. Martin. You fucking take forever to make a book.
Well, have you written a book? Okay, so then you don't know. I don't know when I'm gonna write the third book. I'm gonna be genuinely fucking honest with you, Edgar. Just you personally. I don't know anyone else who hears it, but dude, I don't know when I'm gonna write the third book. I love writing like this book, and the first one. I like the process of it, but it's definitely a lot more complicated. And so, especially after writing for 2 years, with this book, I'm gonna take a fucking break. By break, by break, I'm not saying I'm not gonna like work on anything. I'm gonna work on other shit too.
Well, no shit.
I'm not gonna write a book after this. That's to be determined. I'm keeping it real.
Will it be about vampires?
No, it won't be about. If I'm gonna do a third book, I think I want to deviate and do something more like a thriller or like a horror book.
Fucking finally, you dick.
God damn.
Where'd that come from? Well, you got great fucking ideas for a story, like a horror story.
Yeah.
And you're over here fucking, I'm a vampire.
What are you talking about? I'm a vampire.
This is about love. Like, you have great ideas to make a horror fucking story. You're over here fucking around.
It feels like you've been waiting to tell me this shit.
Yes.
And now you're telling me this while we're recording the podcast.
Yeah, sorry. Okay. So, let's talk about your first book, which came out when? 2018?
Yes, June 2018. I don't know the day.
Oh, no shit. And tell us... Well, let me say this. I remember you... At first, it was a screenplay. You didn't have a name for it. Or I think you did. Or you were floating around with the name with it. And either one of us came up with the title, This Is Love. But you didn't know the story, the plot for the movie. I remember you went to different drafts for the screenplay, and it didn't work out. It was too cheesy, or it was too fucking, like...
At one point, it was too sci-fi, but that's what you wanted. Was it to be a bit more, like, sci-fi?
But in
a grounded way. Yes.
But, yeah, I remember you had these old ideas, but it wouldn't fit for this story, right?
Right.
And one day I came up with the idea, and I pitched it to you, and you liked it.
Uh-huh.
and that was it. And I don't know if you finished it as a screenplay or no.
Probably not. knowing me, I probably didn't finish it, to be honest.
You fucking cocksucker! I gave you a great idea,
Damn.
and you didn't at least did a first draft.
Dude, it's like you're complimenting me and then you're like shitting on me. What the
Well,
hell?
I thought at the time you were writing it, because the way you were like, sorry to mention, you're like George R. R. Martin in South Park. Oh, the dragons are coming. That was you. You had this great idea. Oh, I'm gonna write it soon, and I guess you never did.
Well, I did, didn't I? It's a book now.
Well, hold on. Didn't you write it? Do you remember writing it as a screenplay?
No, I do remember writing it.
But
as a
you said
screenplay.
you didn't.
I didn't finish it, but I remember writing it. Yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah. I just didn't.
Well,
It
well,
didn't connect.
like with the closers, we gave the plot idea,
Mhm.
then we get the book idea. Would you like to talk about your screenplay idea or no?
For closers?
No, for This Is Love. Then we'll talk about how you deviated to.
Well, the screenplay was going to be about a drug that made people fall in love,
Mhm.
and I vaguely remember what the actual main story was going to be.
Oh,
about.
I did. So the main story was that in this futuristic world that people live in, people don't believe in love anymore.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, and it's coming back to me. Yeah.
Yeah, people just live their life. They don't have families. They don't have they don't fall in love anymore like they used to. And I think it was because there wasn't. Correct me if I'm wrong. Like the population of the world was fucked because people weren't having families and stuff like
Making
that.
babies. It's
Yeah.
basically saying making babies. Yeah.
And there's this drug called, wasn't it love?
Yeah, I think it was called just Love.
Love, I think, something like that, or
I think it was called Eros, actually.
Eros, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was a pill or something like that.
Yeah, it was a pill, yeah.
They'll make you fall in love with each
Mhm.
other. And
I think it was about two characters falling in love the old-fashioned way.
yeah, the old fashioned way.
Without the drugs.
But behind that, it had a cool fucking, like, we had little concept with this futuristic world with these characters, and like how, like, I think one, like, for example, we were fucking around with the idea of kind of like, it was like in law type of thing, like it was a law for you to
Use the drug?
use the drug and fall in
Yeah,
love.
yeah, no,
Like
yeah.
it was like that type of like
Yeah, a lot of it was taken from Man Seeking Woman
yeah.
on FX.
Mhm.
That sort of like that kind of comedy.
That comedy,
That's
yeah.
what we did.
Mm.
Which I liked too. It was good, and there's some of it in the book.
Mhm.
You wouldn't know because you haven't read it. But there's a few moments of like that in the book too. But it's the screenplay was all that.
We had stuff like that, and I think this is before I saw that the movie with Jim Carrey. What's it called?
Oh, Eternal
It's-
Sunshine of the Spotless Mind.
Yeah. Before knowing that, we had that same idea from that movie.
Mm-hmm.
Like we had during the story or during one of the acts of the movie, we were fucking around with the idea. Also, like he falls in love with the girl, or people fall in love with people, and you can erase your mind.
Oh yeah, that's right.
To being
Yeah.
depressed because how if you have a girlfriend, then
Or
you break up,
Yeah,
you have heartbreak.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And we had that idea, like you can erase that and,
Mhm.
and not have heartbreak later on.
Mhm.
We had all these ideas like to incorporate in this story. Like
Yeah.
I said, like it was enforced for you to fall in love and to use this pill,
Mhm.
stuff like that, in which I loved the story, and I remember always telling you, like, I was excited, like, how's it going? Like, you were like, yeah, it's going. And now that I know that you never finished it, I'm kind of sad that it wasn't like with closers. You finished it first, then you made it into a book.
Right.
Why you didn't finish the screenplay?
I don't know. I think I just I don't. I think what it was is I just couldn't find a good third act for the movie,
Mm-hmm.
and I struggled with that for longer than I wanted to. So I just kind of like, I'll just put it aside for now. And I worked on other shit, and eventually that just subsided, and I stopped working on it. And then eventually I came back to it and made it a book. So.
Okay, so that was the original idea for This Is Love. It was the screenplay first. So let's talk about why. I remember I was pissed off because I really love the idea.
Yeah,
Of
you were
that,
kind of salty that I was making a book now.
Because I remember that I love the idea so much. I thought it was going to be a screenplay.
Yeah.
And something we can, put out there. That's how much, what's the word I'm looking for? Confidence I had about this story.
Mm-hmm.
And when I heard that you took the title and changed it completely,
Yeah.
and made it into a book, I was kind of pissed off. But let's get to why that one, the This Is Love, and tell us about the plot for the book.
Oh damn.
Yeah.
So then it became a book, the screenplay, and at the time, without getting to too much detail, I was like, I think I was like in like fucking like heartless romantic phase. I was trying to chase like a girl, and then after all that happened, I started writing the book as a way to kind of relieve some of that like feeling of like depression that I had. So it was very cathartic when I started writing the book, and to me at the time, that's how I felt what love is. Like, this is love to me. So that's why I took the title from the screenplay and wrote it into the book that it is now. And the book, if I remember correctly, is about a character named Colin who is broken up at the time that we're reading or that we meet him in the book, and he ends up finding someone that he ends up falling in love with, and her name is I think her name is Love something. I forget what her last name is. I know it had something cool to it. I know
Send it here. What a fucking moron. You don't even know your first characters.
Look.
Just kidding. Calm down.
Love LaBelle, I think her name was.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what her name was. And then, so that's what the whole story was. Was about him chasing this girl and all the heartaches that comes with it. Or at least all the heartaches. See, the thing was that I was gonna have a subtitle for the book. I just forgot what it was called. But it was gonna say something stupid like according to a naive 20-year-old.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
But
fucking dumb.
I wanted to make it clear, like, this is just the experience of one person of what love is, and that's what the book was about.
So that's the plot of the story.
Yeah,
that's simple.
It was simple, yeah, and it turned out to be 300
Yeah, I was about to say it's 300 fucking.
But like I told you, I was going through some shit, so I put everything out
while you're writing.
And look, I know you're gonna be like, what? It took me 8 months to write and publish that book because I was going through shit.
So
and
you had a shorter time to do this one, and it took 2 years to do Closers.
Well, hold on, I'm not done fucking talking about it before we get to wrapping it up. With This Is Love, it took me 8 months, and then I think in the middle of it is when I met my current girlfriend, and it shaped the way I wrote the later part of the book. And so that helped to kind of speed things along and finish the book. But with Closers, and I think I've told you this before, but I'll say it again. Closers is like a culmination of the past like decade of my life. As a filmmaker, as a writer, as someone in their 20s who feels fucking lost. And so that's why it took me so long too, because I wanted to put everything of my experiences up to this point in that book, and I wanted to make sure that I took my time with it. I wanted to articulate what I was trying to say, and that's why it took me so long.
Was the original draft also 300 or was it 1,000?
But This Is Love?
Yeah,
I think it always stayed 300. It never changed because it was 8 months, and so I didn't edit most of anything in that book.
So everything was kept in there.
Everything was kept in there, man. Because no one edited the book. I edited the book.
I thought you sent it to someone that edited the
No,
book.
I think I sent it to a teacher and she never got back to me, so I did it. And and so
You sure?
I'm sure. And Alan was like, dude, fucking release the book. I was like, all right, I'll do it.
So it's Alan's fault. That goofy little.
So yeah, that's it. Nothing changed. And then this one, obviously, I cut out a huge chunk of the book, but it's better for it.
Are you proud of your first book?
The first book. I thought you were saying the second book. Kind of. I'm happy that I wrote it, and I'm happy that I put it like out there.
Mm-hmm.
If only to kind of cleanse myself of what I went through in 2018. But I'm more proud of this book because it feels definitively like, I'm not to shit on my first book. I like it and I hope people read it, but this feels like my first book. Like I took time to write it. And
so you took that title and you took that idea and you ran with it.
Okay.
Which it could have been a great screenplay.
This has nothing to do with closers. What are you talking about?
What do you mean we talk half an hour about that shit?
And now you want to just air out your grievances over This Is Love?
Yes.
Well, sorry to disappoint you, and I'm never going to write shit like that again.
Good.
At least not for a long time.
Where are we going to go now? Well, did Alan give you any...
Dead air.
Yeah. Did Alan give you any other concept besides the original cover? Was it different, or he just, here you go?
No, it was just the one. It's very Alan of him to do that. Yeah, it was just the one cover that he did. And then I ran with it. I was like, this is awesome. So that's what I did.
I feel like This Is Love, like even like you said, the titles make up the fucking title of the chapters make up the title of the book. I feel like you put a lot of thought into this one. You know, even you didn't edit anything out. You kept it in there. I feel like you had something to say too in this book.
Mm-hmm.
The fuck is it even still fucking?
No, it's the same. It's the same thing. It's the same thing. It's just you going along with this one guy.
Sure, okay. But that's how I feel about the first book. That you were, like you were saying, you went through some shit and you had to say something. You know, stuff like that. So, thank you all for being in the writer's chair today.
Hold on, we're not.
And hopefully you don't come back.
What the fuck?
And then we just come back to our original schedule. What do you want to say?
Well, before you told me that we weren't done, I was gonna say one last thing.
Yeah, one last thing. Go ahead.
Look, to anyone who does read it, I'm very grateful that you picked it up and that you read it, and I hope that you enjoy it. I'm a writer at heart. I love this thing, and anyone who doesn't know about the craft of writing, we're all like architects. You know, we're creating something that will hopefully be stable and will have a strong foundation. And that's what I did with Closers. And I want to make people feel something when they read it. And thank you for pushing me, propelling me to continue the writing career. And especially you, Edgar, for always being there and supporting me. The people who read the book, like Maurice. I know that I sent the manuscript to one of my teachers who hasn't read it yet, but hopefully she will read it too. All these people in my life, my girlfriend as well, she's been a huge supporter of mine. So I hope you guys enjoy the book. I hope you guys pick it up. And I will write a third book eventually.
In 5 years.
But yeah, man, this is what I love. Man, this is. Hopefully, we can talk more about this kind of shit in the podcast, like just writing and stuff like that. So
this is only a one shot.
What do you mean just a one shot?
Yeah.
You're saying that like I'm never gonna fucking write again.
Fine. This is only part 1 of the writing chair.
Part 2 might come in 5 years, maybe. I don't know.
Or sooner.
I don't know when the next book's
Sooner.
gonna come
Who
out.
knows? Who knows? But today, it was just Albert de Morenos, the writer,
Yes.
the screenwriter.
Yes, but when this episode comes out, I don't know when I'm gonna put out. It might be before, it might be on, or a little bit after. But there will be links for the book in the YouTube description below
Nice.
when you're watching it, so that you can go buy it. Hopefully that inspired you to go buy it. How long have we been recording?
Jesus Christ.
An hour, so we gotta wrap it up. Hopefully the whole hour convinced you to read the book.
Well, can I
And,
say my thing?
Okay, go ahead and say your
Alright.
thing.
All seriousness, deep down, both of us are fucking. We like to write, make up stories, screenplays. We like to shoot short films. If you guys don't know, we have this little, if you want to call it a little sketch show on YouTube,
I like to call it a web series.
a web series. You know, that was our passion, is to shoot little short films here and there. You know, we haven't done that in a while. Hopefully this year we do.
Now that I'm done with the book, I want to do that. You know,
That's
and-
who we are originally. You know, we do love fucking.
Yeah, we love video games. We love comic books. We are
Yeah.
two brothers, but we're two creators at heart. That's being too
And-
sappy.
Yeah, if you guys are just like us, who plays video games, who read comic books, you can do that shit too.
Yeah.
Albert, with his first book, he fucking it's just like the crazy idea that he
Yeah,
made a book. It's published. It's you can pick it up. That's something to be, you know, like
inspired by it.
inspired by
Yeah,
for you guys to do.
definitely. Like if someone reads the book, and I'm kind of paraphrasing like Kevin Smith here, but like dude, if you read this book and you're like, this shit fucking sucks, then like hopefully that's motivation for you to go write a book.
You know?
And do it better than I can. Like, I implore you to do it better. Because I know that there are people out there who can do this shit just as good as I can. And I'm not trying to sell myself short, because I know I'm fucking good at what I do. But you can do it too.
No,
Yeah.
yeah, that's what to say. Or
Yeah.
if you do love our little sketches on YouTube, or you do love our podcast, or you do love Albert, you know, Albert's recent book Closers, and you can tell yourself, I can do this too.
Yeah. It doesn't matter
Yeah.
what point in your life
Mhm.
you're in, like, you can still do this thing if that's what you want to do. You know, whatever it is. Hopefully that's inspired you to do that.
Mhm.
That's really the main takeaway here. Is like, hopefully I've inspired somebody to go out and write the book. I know when I wrote This Is Love, I inspired my teacher to go pursue her doctorate.
Oh yeah,
When she found out that I
you're right.
dedicated the book to her, she had written me this like really heartfelt like message on, and she told me that after seeing that and reading that, like it kind of pushed her to go and pursue her doctorate. And I was like, damn, that's fucking, like, to me that's crazy, because like I wrote the book not even thinking that, and it inspired this person who I looked up to
Mhm.
to go and do that. And hopefully that will help someone to go out there and be like, I want to quit my fucking job and go be a writer and do something like that. Like,
I
fucking
forgot.
definitely,
I
man, go do
forgot that. Yeah,
You know?
your teacher went back and got her doctorates because of you.
I think it's her doctorate.
What?
Hopefully I'm right. Yeah,
Oh.
yeah, she went back and
Well, let's
yeah,
say she went back to school to finish what she really wanted to do,
exactly.
and because of you, which is, that means anyone can inspire anyone, you know.
Like, that to me, that was mission accomplished. Once I
Right.
saw that, I was like, that's it.
Didn't she?
I did my job.
Didn't she also mention you in her speech?
Yeah, I forget what it was, what the right word for it's called. But
Mm.
yeah, she sent me the link of the speech that she had given, and it made me feel like I did my job. You know, like I can close that chapter of the book of This Is Love. Like it made someone go and do that. So
Mhm.
hopefully it will make, with this book, it'll inspire somebody, even if it's one person. So, yeah, that's been Two Brothers. That's like a little bonus episode.
Yeah.
And
The next episode, we're gonna.
we'll go back to normal.
Yeah.
Whatever the next episode is, because this shit's out of order.
This is out of order. What are you gonna say, motherfucker?
Well, I'll tell you after we're fucking done, asshole.
Jeez. Just a little taste. You know, people want us riff at each other, man.
Sure, Aaron.
Sure.
Let's riff on each other in this episode called the Writer's Chair. Let's riff on each other like we're fucking brothers again.
Okay. It's been Two Brothers.
What's your favorite book?
Can you fucking be done with this?
Book.